how is everyone? I hope you're all well. Before I go on, I'm going to have to raise something, aren't I? I'm going to have to speak about something. And that is Chris McDonough. Now look, Chris McDonough, I know he has a lot of fans and he has done some fantastic things. He's also done some not so fantastic things regarding certain cases, which I'm not going to go into detail here. I've done that in the past. But we have someone who has turned around and said trail cams. Maybe he had these people, I'm talking about Bryan Kohberger, he had these people under surveillance. He had cameras. And it's told by the amount of times that he went over to Moscow. This is obviously what he was doing, and Chris McDonough has responded. He thinks that that's a good idea. Why on earth would someone set up trail cams to surveil people and then keep travelling to surveil them? Now, surely when you put if you're going to put cameras around someone's property, the whole idea of that is so you don't have to keep going back to surveil them. But anyway, look, I'm not the professional. Anyway, I digress. Slam dunk case. I want you guys to let me know down below. Please do let me know down below, because what I'm thinking is maybe I'm the stupid one, and there are some people who are far cleverer than me. Because we hear this term slam dunk case. I've seen it time and time again. People saying, look, this is done. The evidence, even the stuff that we've seen, has a slam dunk case. Now, personally, I can't see it. Because I think some people have forgotten what they've got to do. Right, it's not about proving that Bryan Kohberger was there. It's not about proving Bryan Kohberger had ventured over from Washington to Moscow multiple times. It's not about proving that Kohberger was looking on social media at attractive girls and happened to find these attractive girls and send them direct messages. It's not about that. It's not about finding out whether he did actually speak to them in the Mad Greek restaurant. It's not about confirming that he did indeed venture from Washington to Moscow 12 times, and sometimes in the early hours of the morning. It's not about that. It's about proving beyond a reasonable doubt that Bryan Kohberger actually committed this crime. That he is the person who did the crime with which he is being charged for. Now, certainly they can go and make a bigger picture and say how he was going over and he was surveilling them. He must have been driving over and watching through binoculars outside the property. But that's speculatory. That's not fact. That's just guesswork. That's just to make your story fit. This is what led to this crime. But I want you to think about something. We've spoken time and time again about the time frame, and could Bryan Kohberger have done this crime in this amount of time? To get his car parked, to venture into the property, to do what needed to be done, to clean up to a degree where you're not going to drag anything out of the property, get back in your house, get in the car and drive away. And they keep trying to make out like the murders happened between 4 and 4:30 or 4 and 4:25, when in fact the time frame for the murders must have been a lot more slim, and would have also, for somebody to have done, there was a lot of risks involved and things that they would have, in that situation, had to have taken into consideration. Let's not forget that there was supposedly a DoorDash delivery around the same time that the perpetrator arrived. So when we're thinking about, again, what's trying to be pushed, and the media are trying to do it as well, we see where they're saying some of these victims were likely asleep when all this happened. But it wasn't that they were asleep. It wouldn't appear that they were asleep at all. Who was asleep? Who was asleep? You've got some that are on TikTok, as confirmed by the affidavit. You've got Dylan, who's clearly awake because she's shouting up at the others because they're being noisy and she's telling them to shut the fuck up and what have you. And so there were people awake in there. There were people awake in there. Now, some people will turn around and say, well, they were awake because they were being attacked. But we hear that the dog wasn't barking until 17 minutes past 4. And the car was driving away at 20 past 4. So even that 3-minute window, what was triggering the dog? Also, why did the dog all of a sudden stop barking and didn't bark for the rest of the 8 hours? I just, there's so many questions and so many things that when you start digging into it, a jury is going to start thinking, hold on a second, this something just don't sit right here. They're normal people like you and I, and they're gonna, yes, they might have more stuff. They might have more evidence. But the bare bones of it is still the same. The bare bones of it is that we're trying to believe that this guy who we've seen, like even the traffic stop, you've got some people who will crucify him because he was some sort of narcissist maniac who was clearly controlling the narrative. And then you've got the other people who just see it as an everyday normal traffic stop. But can you appreciate the gravity here that that person who you see in that traffic stop is supposedly the same person who just weeks later entered into this residence and did what was done? That's what we're pushing. And let's back up a bit, because what we've also got on the peripheral is around the same time that all this kicked off, we've got another guy who was military trained, suffering from PTSD, who was threatening to kill his roommates and had to be taken out by SWAT. Now, could it not be argued, and I know the thing is here, you've got the lesser of two evils, I suppose, because if Bryan Kohberger is connected in some way, then it's the same charge, but that's kind of not the point. The point here is finding out whether Bryan Kohberger was the only person involved. He was the only person involved. Some people may say that the way Bryan Kohberger handled the traffic stop situation showed that he was able to remain calm and collected, and he was able to control a situation. So would it not be beyond reasonable doubt to consider that he could have potentially controlled someone like Bryan Kohberger to do this heinous crime? And did Bryan Kohberger spiral out of control because Bryan Kohberger knew what he'd done and had also known that he'd fucked up because he'd left the knife sheath behind, and it was only a matter of time before things happened? And again, this is just speculation. I'm not pointing at it. I'm thinking about how much of a slam dunk is this case really? Is it truly a slam dunk? Is the knife sheath being left behind with the touch DNA on it, is that enough? Because some people are saying that is just enough. That's enough. On its own, the fact that that's there is enough. The fact that they've got his car on camera. Have they got his car, or have they got a car that they're going to have to prove beyond reasonable doubt that couldn't have been someone else's car? Of the several thousand Hyundai Elantras in the area. And when you pair that with this Hyundai Elantra, the police chief himself making statements that would appear to say that there was more than one person in that car when it was seen. The persons to come forward, not the person to come forward. And it's all these little nuances that are going to start forming a picture. You've got the Giglio Brady stuff in the background and all that. You've got the police chief who's kind of saying that they're looking for a 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra that many, many people believed that was silver, not white. And he's saying that there was more than one occupant in it, or alluding to the fact. Is this case a slam dunk? I could go on and on and on and on and on with this video, and we could touch on all the little nuances and all the little things that could be picked up and embellished by the defence, because that's their job. And that isn't even touching on the fact that we've got this stuff regarding the exculpatory evidence. But anyway, That's for now. Let me know where you are down below. Is this truly a slam dunk case? And was Chris McDonough right? Did Kohberger have surveillance cameras? And is that why he ventured to Moscow 12 times? What, to put batteries in, perhaps? Who knows? Oh, and by the way, before I go, later on, hopefully I'll be doing a video on the Stephen Smith case, as there is, I believe, a press conference on that case today as well. So we will hear an update on what that is and what the findings were in the second autopsy. Take care, look after yourselves, and I'll catch you all later.